Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a story you think you know, but trust me, the reality is far more mundane and frankly, a lot sleepier than the epic Hollywood versions you've seen. We're talking about the guy who stared at a monster and won, the demigod Perseus, and the terrifyingly boring reality of Medusa's stare. Imagine you're right there with him, feeling the salty spray of the sea, the creak of the old wood, and the deep, inescapable boredom of fate. It's a story where the real enemy isn't a snake-haired monster, but a prophecy in the simple fact that sometimes you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, if you're listening, drop a comment with your location and local time. It's always cool to see where everyone is drifting off. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're a demigod, though you wouldn't know it, at least. Not in the way a modern celebrity might be a demigod all flash and fanfare. Your life begins with a whispered prophecy, a divine intervention, and a whole lot of fear. Your grandfather, a king named Perseus, is told by an oracle that his grandson will be the one to kill him. This isn't a he'll take the throne in a coup kind of prophecy. It's a he will be the direct cause of your death kind of deal. Being a king. Perseus's first thought isn't, how can I avoid this, but rather, how can I get rid of this kid before he's even a kid? So he does what any good king afraid of an unborn baby would do. He locks his daughter, Danae, in an underground bronze chamber. The goal is simple: no men, no baby, no prophecy fulfilled. Seems airtight. Right, except you're about to learn a fundamental truth about Greek myths. You can't outsmart the gods. You can't build a box tight enough, a prison deep enough, or a plan clever enough to thwart a divine plan. This isn't just about a god wanting to have a son. It's about the very fabric of reality bending to a higher will. The god Zeus, ever the philanderer, decides he wants to be the father of this prophesied child. He can't just knock on the door. It's a solid bronze chamber. So, what's a god of the sky to do? He turns himself into a shower of golden rain. Now, I know what you're thinking that sounds sticky, but in the mythological context it's a beautiful, shimmering, irresistible force. It's a gentle descent of pure light and divinity, a soft, warm embrace that somehow passes through solid bronze and impregnates your mother. There's no struggle, no force, just a golden downpour, a quiet inevitability that makes the king's elaborate prison seem utterly pointless. And that's how you come into the world, not with a roar or a cry of war, but with the soft glisten of gold dust and the hushed prayers of a woman trapped in the dark. Your first few years are spent in that same bronze chamber, a secret kept in plain sight. It's a strange, claustrophobic existence. Your mother, Danae, teaches you what she can. You learn to listen to the sounds of the world outside, the rumble of the earth, the distant crash of waves. You learn to make shadows dance on the walls. It's a small life, confined and without a future, but secrets, especially divine ones, have a way of getting out one day. Perseus hears the faint cries of a child from the chamber. He investigates and, to his horror, finds you and your mother. Now he's really panicked. He can't kill you directly. That would be an act of sacrilege, a direct challenge to the gods. He's afraid of their wrath, and rightly so. He knows that prophecies aren't a suggestion, they're a certainty. To kill the baby is to speed up the prophecy, to make it even more likely that he will meet his end. So he devises a different plan, one he thinks is clever, one that puts the responsibility on the fates themselves. He has a large wooden chest built. It's sturdy, but not airtight. He puts you and your mother inside, along with some food and water, and has it cast out to sea. It's a classic Greek myth move. I'm not killing you. I'm just letting nature take its course. He's washing his hands of it, hoping the sea will do his dirty work for him. The logic is that if you both survive, it's the gods' will. If you don't, well, he tried. You're a baby, so you don't remember the feeling of the rough wood against your skin or the sickening lurch as the chest is heaved from the shore, but you can imagine it now. The dark, the smell of salt and pine, the gentle rocking that lulls your mother to a desperate, fitful sleep. The sounds are muffled, a constant groan of wood in the endless, whispering roar of the ocean. It's not a violent journey, not a tempestuous storm filled with monstrous waves. It's just boring. The slow, relentless drift of a wooden box across a vast, uncaring expanse. And here's a fun. Little known detail, many ancient accounts describe the chest not as a small box, but more like a coffin-sized vessel. It wasn't just a place to hold you, it was a symbolic tomb. The act was meant to be a kind of funeral for a life that was never meant to be. Acrisius wasn't just hoping you would drown. He was ceremonially sending you to the underworld, a silent, humble offering to appease the fates he so feared. It's a far cry from the dramatic, storm-tossed scenes you've seen in movies. It's a much more low-key, bureaucratic form of murder, and it's all the more unsettling for it. The journey goes on for days. You don't have to worry about a sea serpent or a giant whirlpool. The real enemy is the mundane hunger, thirst, and the relentless, mind-numbing repetition of the waves. But the gods, in their infinite and often arbitrary wisdom, have a plan for you. The chest drifts to the shore of a small island called Seriphos. It comes to rest not on a rocky cliff, but in the gentle, lapping waters of a quiet fishing harbour. And who finds you a fisherman, a humble, kind man named Dictys? He's not a king, not a warrior, just a guy out doing his job. He pulls the chest from the water, expecting a catch of fish or perhaps some lost cargo. Instead, he finds a woman and a baby, half-starved but alive. It's a miraculous discovery, a moment of pure, unadulterated luck. He takes you and your mother in, provides you with food, shelter, and a new life. He's the opposite of your grandfather. He sees a life to be saved, not a prophecy to be thwarted. Dictys is a simple man, but his brother, Polydectes, is not. Polydectes is the king of Seriphos, and from the moment he lays eyes on your mother, Danae, he is infatuated. This is where you're new. Quiet life starts to get complicated. You grow up on this island, a fisherman's son in all but blood. You learn to mend nets, to bait hooks, to read the weather by the clouds. You're strong, you're capable, and you're a natural leader. You're a demigod, and it shows, not in the way you can throw lightning bolts, but in the way you carry yourself, the natural grace and strength that sets you apart from the other boys on the island. Your mother, however, is not a simple woman. She is the daughter of a king, a woman of great beauty and dignity. Polydectes desires her, but she refuses his advances. She has no interest in marrying a man who would threaten her quiet, peaceful life, and you, as her son, are her protector. You stand up to Polydectes, not with a sword, but with a quiet, unwavering resolve. You are a constant obstacle to his desires, a reminder that your mother is not his for the taking. This sets the stage for the next great twist in your story. Polydectes, being a king, has a certain way of doing things. He doesn't like to be told no, but he can't just kill you. You're the son of the man who saved you. You're loved by the people of the island. He needs a way to get rid of you without getting his hands dirty. He needs a plan that is both clever and cruel, a trap that you will willingly walk into. The academic debate about this part of the myth revolves around the psychological motivations of Polydectes. Some historians argue he was simply a lustful tyrant, while others suggest he was acting on a more complex, politically motivated desire to control the island. By marrying Danae, he would be linking his line to a king from a powerful mainland city. Even if that king was a bit of a coward, it was a strategic move as much as a personal one. which makes his hatred of you all the more calculated. He saw you not just as a rival for your mother's affection, but as a political problem. A young, strong demigod with unknown connections to the mainland could be a threat to his rule. So, Polydectes hatches a plan. He announces that he will be getting married, not to your mother, but to another woman. He throws a grand feast and invites all the nobles of the island. The tradition is that each guest must bring a horse as a wedding gift. It's a lavish public display of wealth and power, and it puts you in a difficult position. You have no horse. You are a fisherman, not a wealthy noble. You show up at the feast, empty-handed. Polydectes, of course, calls you out. He publicly shames you, not for being poor, but for being a bad guest. He makes you look small, insignificant, and ungrateful. It's a public humiliation designed to corner you, he says. Since you cannot bring a horse, what can you bring me? What gift could you possibly offer that would be worthy of my wedding? In a moment of youthful pride and frustration, you fall right into his trap. You make a big, bold claim. You declare that you can get him anything he wants, no matter how impossible. Tell me what you want, you say, and I will get it for you. It's the kind of boast a young man makes when his pride is hurt. When he feels backed into a corner, it's a declaration of defiance, a moment of tragic bravado, and Polydectes, with a sinister smile, says the one thing he knows you can't get. Bring me the head of Medusa. The name hangs in the air, a cold, hard fact of death. Everyone knows who Medusa is, the gorgon with snakes for hair, whose stare can turn a man to stone. She's not a legend, she's a reality. She lives in a desolate land far away, and no one who has gone after her has ever returned. The thought of it is a joke, a cruel and impossible demand. The other guests laugh, thinking it's a good-natured jab at your empty promises. They don't realize the king is serious. They don't see the look in his eyes as he watches you, trapped, with a quiet, satisfied hunger. The game has begun. And you, a simple fisherman's son, are the pawn, and you have no choice but to play. You've made a public declaration, a foolish boast born of pride, and now you're stuck with it. The king, Polydectes, has his cruel little grin plastered on his face. Everyone else at the feast is laughing, thinking it's a joke, a way to put the upstart fisherman's son in his place. But you know it isn't. You know the look in Polydectes' eyes is deadly serious. He has given you a task that is, by all accounts, an absolute death sentence. You are to bring back the head of Medusa. The very phrase is a punch to the gut, a cold and heavy weight settling in your stomach. You walk away from the feast, the laughter of the nobles echoing in your ears. The island of Seriphos, which was once your quiet, peaceful refuge, now feels like a prison. You've been living a simple life, mending nets and hauling in fish, but the divine blood in your veins has been simmering beneath the surface, and now it's boiling over. This is the moment your mortal life ends and your heroic journey begins. But it doesn't feel epic. It feels like a chore, a terrible, overwhelming errand you've been forced to run. You spend a night tossing and turning, the image of a snake-haired woman and the cold, lifeless statues of men filling your mind. How do you even begin to approach such a task? Medusa isn't just a monster. She's a force of nature, a living gorgon whose very gaze can turn you to stone. You have no weapon, no armour, no map. You are just a young man who can pull a heavy fishing net, not a warrior who can slay a mythical beast. But as you're mulling over your impossible predicament, you feel a shift in the air, a cold, quiet stillness that feels out of place in your small hut. The air shimmers, and two figures appear before you. They aren't just people, they are gods. On your right stands a tall, armoured woman with a piercing, intelligent gaze. She holds a shield and a spear. This is Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. On your left is a younger, more mischievous-looking man with winged sandals and a traveller's cap. He holds a staff entwined with snakes. This is Hermes, the messenger of the gods. They stand there, silent, watching you. They don't offer a grand speech or a heroic welcome. They just observe you, a young demigod who's about to walk into certain doom. And then, Hermes breaks the silence, his voice a soft, humming melody that seems to settle the nerves in your stomach. He explains that your divine father, Zeus, has heard of your plight and has sent them to aid you. The gods aren't just an absent-minded collective. They are often a petty and bureaucratic bunch. Your lineage gives you a certain amount of favour, a divine get-out-of-jail-free card, but it's not a blank cheque. You still have to do the work. First, Athena speaks. She explains the nature of Medusa's power. It isn't a magical spell that she casts. It's a direct, physical consequence of looking into her eyes. It is, in a very boring, literal sense, a petrifying stare. She tells you that you must never, under any circumstances, look at Medusa directly. She hands you a polished bronze shield, so reflective it's like a mirror. Use this, she says. Her voice as clear and sharp as her spear. It will be your eyes. You will fight her while only looking at her reflection. This is a classic example of divine intervention in a myth, not a full-on rescue, but a series of tools and clever tricks. The gods don't want to make it easy for you. They want you to prove your worth. They're giving you the cheat codes, but you still have to play the game. The shield is your first and most important tool. It's not a weapon for offense, but a defensive tool for indirect engagement. It's a trick, a clever workaround for a problem that seems insurmountable. Next, Hermes steps forward. He hands you a pair of winged sandals. These will help you travel with incredible speed, he says, with a mischievous wink. They'll get you to her lair and, more importantly, get you away from her sisters. He also gives you a small bag, a kibisis, made of a sturdy, magical leather that can hold a great deal without adding any weight. This is for the head, he says simply, knowing you'll need a place to safely store your grisly trophy without it turning the world around you to stone. Finally, he hands you an enchanted sword. It's not a massive, heavy broadsword. It's light, incredibly sharp, and impossibly durable. This blade, he explains, will be the only thing that can cut through the thick, scaly skin on Medusa's neck. It's another example of the gods providing exactly what is needed, and nothing more. It's a tool for a specific job, a divine box cutter for a mythical monster. You stand there, a bundle of magical items in your hands, a reflective shield, winged sandals, a bag, and a special sword. It's like a divine starter kit. This is where the story gets really interesting, not because of the epic battles, but because of the weird little details. For instance, the winged sandals are often depicted as something you just put on and fly, but in some accounts, they are more like magical, super-powered sneakers. You don't just float, you have to run with immense speed, and the sandals provide the lift. It's more of a super sprint than a graceful flight. Now that you have your divine toolkit, you have to figure out where to go. Medusa's lair isn't on a map. No one knows exactly where it is. The gods don't just give you a GPS coordinate. Hermes, however, gives you a clue. You must first visit the Graia, he says, the Grey Sisters. He explains that these three ancient beings, who share a single eye and a single tooth, are the only ones who know the location of Medusa's home. This is a detail that is often glossed over in modern retellings. The journey to the Graia is a story in itself. They aren't just a quick stop on your way. You have to find them first, which is a quest of its own. They live in a desolate, sunless land at the edge of the world. It's a place of eternal twilight, a silent and empty waste. The journey is long and arduous, and you use your new winged sandals to travel across vast oceans and endless deserts. You feel the wind whipping past your face, the earth shrinking beneath your feet. It's an exhilarating, terrifying experience, a sudden shift from the mundane life of a fisherman to the impossible life of a demigod. As you travel, you start to feel the full weight of your destiny. You're not doing this for glory or for fame. You're doing it because of a foolish promise and a cruel king. You are a puppet in a cosmic play, and the gods, for their own reasons, have decided to give you the strings. It's a strange, humbling feeling. You're not the hero of your own story. You're a tool, a means to an end. This is a common theme in Greek mythology. The idea that humanity is at the mercy of forces far greater than itself. The journey to the Grey Sisters takes you to a place of perpetual gloom. The air is cold and heavy, and the silence is so complete it feels like a physical presence. You see 3 ancient, decrepit women huddled together, sharing a single eye and a single tooth. They are the personification of old age and decrepitude. They are constantly arguing, bickering over whose turn it is to see and to eat. They are grotesque, but in a pathetic, almost comical way. It's the kind of sight that would make you laugh, if you weren't so terrified. This is the kind of detail that historians still debate. Were the Grey Sisters merely a physical representation of old age? Or were they a metaphor for something more? Some scholars argue they represent a kind of ancient, forgotten knowledge, a wisdom that is fragmented and hard to access. Their shared eye could symbolize a single, unified view of the past, a kind of collective memory. Their location at the edge of the world suggests they are keepers of secrets that lie beyond the realm of normal human experience. You watch them for a while, a hidden observer in this desolate land. You see how they pass the eye from one to the other, a quick, fumbling exchange. It's a small window of opportunity, a brief moment when all 3 of them are blind. You can't just walk up to them and ask politely. They are ancient, cranky beings who are not interested in helping a young, presumptuous demigod. They will try to trick you, to mislead you, to send you on a fool's errand. You have to be clever. You have to be a little bit sneaky. So, you wait. You watch for the moment the eye is in mid-air, a split second of blindness for all 3. As the second sister is about to pass the eye to the third, you leap from your hiding place. You snatch the eye out of the air. It's a gross, squishy, and deeply unsettling moment. You feel the cold, clammy orb in your hand, and you hear the sudden panicked shrieks of the sisters. They are now completely blind, helpless in the cold, dark wasteland. The sisters panic, wailing and flailing their arms. You hold the eye in your hand, a powerful bargaining chip. You explain, calmly, what you need. You tell them you want to know the location of Medusa's lair. They, of course, refuse. They curse you, they threaten you. They try to trick you with false directions. But you hold the eye tight, and you are relentless. You are a fisherman's son, used to stubbornness and persistence. You know how to wait, how to be patient, how to be firm. Finally, one of them, exhausted and desperate, gives in. They tell you where to go. They describe a land far to the west, a place where the sun never shines, and the earth is silent and cold. They tell you about the garden of the Hesperides, a place of beautiful fruit and terrible secrets. They explain that the Hesperides can give you another magical item, a bag that can hold anything without weight, and a special sword. But wait, you already have those, thanks to Hermes. The Grey Sisters' information is a bit outdated. You have to laugh at the thought of it. It's like asking an old person for directions and they tell you about a landmark that was torn down 50 years ago. You press them again, and they finally give you the true, up-to-date directions. They tell you to go to the nymphs of the north, the nymphs who possess the helmet of invisibility. This is the final piece of the divine puzzle, the last magical item you need for your quest. The nymphs, they say, live in a hidden grove, a place of peace and beauty far from the desolate wasteland of the Grey Sisters. You promise to return the eye once they've given you the directions. they grudgingly agree, and you, a man of your word, toss the eye back to them. They shriek with a mix of relief and annoyance, and you are gone, a blur of motion with your new wing sandals, a new destination, and a renewed sense of purpose. This isn't just about a quest anymore, it's about a series of obstacles, a series of puzzles to be solved, and you, a demigod who can now fly, are getting the hang of it. You're learning to use your tools, to be clever, to be a hero in your own right, not just a pawn in a divine game, but you have no idea what horrors await you in Medusa's lair. The wind is a constant roar in your ears, the world a blur beneath your flying feet. You're no longer just a fisherman, you're an arrow, shot across the sky by an unseen archer. The winged sandals, a gift from the gods, feel less like magical footwear and more like an extension of your own will. They don't just carry you, they respond to your every thought, every subtle shift of your weight. You have left the grim twilight of the Grey Sisters behind and are now heading for the rumoured, peaceful home of the nymphs. The journey is long, a disorienting blend of speed and solitude. You see the world from a perspective few mortals ever will. Mountains shrink to pebbles, rivers to silver threads. You cross the great expanse of the Mediterranean Sea, the blue water stretching out to an impossibly distant horizon. You eat on the wing, snatching berries from trees as you fly over forests, and drinking from crystal clear mountain streams as you dart through valleys. It's a strange existence, a sudden and jarring transformation from the slow, rhythmic life of a fisherman to the high-speed reality of a demigod on a quest. Your mind is a constant whirl of thoughts. You keep replaying the scene at the feast, the cruel smile of Polydectes, and your own foolish, prideful boast. You are on this impossible journey not because you wanted to be a hero, but because you were tricked. It's a bitter pill to swallow. You're not fighting for a kingdom or a great cause. You're fighting for your mother, Danae, to protect her from a king who wants her for his own selfish reasons. That thought, more than anything, keeps you going. The sun feels warm on your face, a stark contrast to the desolate land of the Grey Sisters. You finally arrive at a place of vibrant green, a hidden grove nestled in a valley that seems untouched by the rest of the world. The air is thick with the scent of jasmine and cypress, and the sound of a gentle waterfall fills the air. This must be it. The home of the nymphs. You land, the winged sandals bringing you to a gentle, controlled stop. You feel a sudden sense of peace, a quiet calm that you haven't felt since you were living with Dictys. The nymphs appear, not with a flash of light or a dramatic entrance, but by simply emerging from the trees. They are a part of the forest, their skin the colour of bark, their hair woven with leaves and flowers. They are beautiful, but in a wild, untamed way. They are the spirit of the grove, ancient and wise. They greet you with a strange, knowing silence. They already know who you are and why you're here. The gods, it seems, have been busy. Hermes must have sent word ahead. The nymphs don't ask you for anything. They simply lead you to a small, moss-covered cave. Inside, resting on a pedestal of smooth stone, is your final magical tool, the Cap of Invisibility, also known as the Helm of Darkness. This isn't a helmet in the traditional sense, the kind of heavy metallic headwear you'd see on a warrior. It's more of a leather cap, simple and unassuming. It looks like the kind of hat a traveller might wear, but the moment you put it on, you feel a profound sense of nothingness. You look down, and your body is gone. You look at your hands, and they are invisible. It's not a blinding flash of magic, it's just a quiet disappearance. You are there, but you are not. It's an unsettling feeling, a strange kind of liberation and isolation all at once. With the cap on your head, you are a ghost, a whisper in the wind. The nymphs explain that this is your most crucial tool. Medusa's stare is a problem of sight. To be unseen is to be immune. The cap is your ultimate defensive weapon. your final piece of divine armour. Without it, your quest is a suicide mission. With it, you have a chance. The nymphs also give you one last thing, a kibasis, a special bag. You already have one from Hermes. But this one is different. It's not just for carrying things, it's for carrying the head of Medusa. It's magically lined to contain her petrifying power, to keep the deadly gaze from escaping and turning everything in its path to stone. The detail of having two similar bags from two different sources is an interesting little historical tidbit. Some accounts say Hermes gave you the bag, while others say the nymphs did. It's an example of a kind of minor contradictions that can be found in the ancient texts. A reminder that these stories were passed down through generations of oral tradition, with details shifting and changing along the way. You thank the nymphs, a silent, unseen figure in their grove. They don't see you leave, but they feel your presence depart, a sudden emptiness in the air. You put on the winged sandals, and once again, you are a blur in the sky. Your destination is now clear the Gorgon's lair. The Grey Sisters told you it's a place far to the west, a place where the sun never shines. It's a journey to the end of the world, to the land of the Hyperboreans, a mythical people who live in a state of eternal spring, but also in a land of myth and magic. You feel a mix of terror and grim determination. You have all the tools you need: a reflective shield to see her, a magical sword to kill her, winged sandals to escape her, and a cap of invisibility to get close to her. You are a walking arsenal of divine gadgets. But you're also a young man, a demigod who has never killed anything more dangerous than a wild boar. The reality of what you're about to do is starting to sink in. The Gorgon's lair is not a place you just stumble upon. It's a land of myth and shadow, a desolate and terrifying place. As you get closer, you feel the warmth of the sun fade away, replaced by a cold, grey twilight. The ground below you becomes barren, the trees twisted and skeletal. The air grows thick with a heavy, oppressive silence. This is the place where fear becomes a physical thing. You land quietly, the winged sandals making no sound on the dusty ground. You pull off the cap of invisibility, a sudden jarring reappearance in this lifeless landscape. You feel vulnerable, exposed. The Gorgon's lair isn't a cave in a mountain. It's a valley of petrified statues, figures of men, women and animals, all frozen in mid-stride, their faces contorted in expressions of terror. They are the remains of all the other heroes who have come before you, all the other fools who thought they could defeat Medusa. It's a chilling sight. It's a monument to failure. You walk among them, a silent ghost in a graveyard of stone. The statues aren't just cold and lifeless, they are eerily realistic. You can see the fear in their eyes, the terror in their open mouths. It's a far more powerful warning than any god or oracle could give you. It's the reality of what happens when you look into Medusa's eyes. It's a boring, permanent, and utterly terrifying end. You feel a cold dread creep into your bones. This isn't a glorious battle. It's a sterile, clinical act of murder. You're not fighting a monster. You're performing a surgery on a god-cursed creature, a grotesque living statue whose existence is a tragedy in itself. The origin of Medusa is a widely debated topic among academics and classicists. Some believe she was always a monster, one of the 3 gorgons born to ancient sea deities, but others argue that she was once a beautiful mortal priestess of Athena, cursed by the goddess for an act of sacrilege. Her beauty was her pride, and her pride was her downfall. The story goes that she was violated in Athena's temple by Poseidon, and Athena, in a fit of rage, punished her by turning her hair into snakes and her face into a terrifying mask that would turn any who looked upon her to stone. This alternate version of the story makes your task all the more tragic. You're not just killing a monster, you're ending the suffering of a cursed woman. You see a cave in the distance, a dark moor in the side of a cliff. This is it. This is where Medusa lives. You pull the cap of invisibility back on, and once again, you disappear. You feel the weight of the shield in your hand, its highly polished surface a mirror to the world. You feel the cold hilt of the special sword. You're ready. You're not a hero, but you are armed with the tools of one. You are a puppet, but you have been given the strength and the means to cut your own strings. You start to walk toward the cave, your every step silent and unseen. The sound of your own heart beating in your chest is the only noise in this desolate place. You are a phantom in a graveyard of stone, and you are about to walk into the lair of the gorgon, a place where all who have come before you have become a part of the scenery. You are a demigod on a quest, a fisherman with a divine purpose, and you are walking toward a fate that is either glorious or tragically mundane. The quiet, boring reality of a gorgon's stare is about to be revealed, and you are about to become a part of the myth. But first, you have to get to the cave, and you have to get in without being heard. The silence is your friend, but it's also your most terrifying enemy. You're a ghost. You're a whisper in the wind. The cap of invisibility makes you feel weightless, detached from the world. Your footsteps are silent, and the chill of the gorgon's lair seeps into your bones. The air is thick with the dust of centuries and the eerie stillness of a place where life has been turned to stone. The petrified statues are a constant, harrowing reminder of what happens to those who fail. You walk past a man frozen mid-scream, his stone face a mask of eternal terror. You see a woman with a child in her arms. Both of them turn to a cold, grey marble. This isn't a place of battle, it's a place of quiet, horrifying finality. It's the most boring, most absolute end a person can face. There's no blood, no sound, just a sudden and silent shift from a flesh to rock. You enter the cave, the gloom deepening around you. The sound of a hissing snake is the first sign of life you've heard in this valley, and it sends a jolt of ice through your veins. The cave is a cavern of echoes and shadows. The air is warm and smells of sulphur and something else, something metallic and foul. You can hear a faint snoring sound, a low, guttural rumble that seems to shake the very earth. This is it. This is Medusa. You pull out the reflective shield, the one Athena gave you. It's not just a mirror, it's a tool of divine wisdom. It's your eyes in this silent, terrifying game of hide and seek. You hold it in front of you, angling it so that you can see the cavern without looking directly into it. The world is a reflection now, a slightly distorted convex image on the polished bronze. You see the cave walls, the grotesque shadows cast by unseen light sources, and finally, you see the gorgons. They're not the slithering, snake-bodied monsters of some stories. They're three terrifyingly human-like figures, slumbering in the centre of the cavern. They have wings of gold, hands of bronze, and their hair is a writhing, hissing mass of living snakes. The sight of it in the reflection is enough to make you feel a deep, primal fear. But you don't look at them directly. You look only at the shield, and you focus on the one in the middle, the one with the loudest snores and the most menacingly coiled snakes. This is Medusa, the mortal gorgon. Her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, are immortal. If you get the wrong one, you'll be a statue in a moment of terrifying, immortal boredom. This is a key part of the story, a detail that many retellings get wrong. Medusa isn't alone. She's surrounded by her two immortal sisters. The task isn't just to kill the gorgon, it's to find the right one, the one you can actually kill. The reflection in your shield is your only guide, your only chance. You watch the snakes on her head, each one a different kind of venomous serpent, each one a constant, low-grade threat. You move slowly, a silent shadow in the cavern. The cap of invisibility is your most valuable asset, a magical shroud that allows you to get impossibly close. You can hear the rustle of the snakes on Medusa's head, the dry scuttling of their scales against the rock. You can feel the heat of her breath, a faint and purple metallic warmth on the air. You're close enough to do it, close enough to make a mistake. This is the moment of truth, You raise the enchanted sword, the one Hermes gave you. It feels light in your hand, but you can feel the latent power within it. It's a blade made for this specific task, a weapon forged by the gods to do a job that no mortal sword could. You can't just hack at her neck. You have to do it in one clean, precise motion. You have to be a surgeon, a butcher of the gods. And here's where the reality of her stare gets very boring. Very quickly. Medusa's stare isn't a ray of light. It isn't a mystical beam. It's a fundamental property of her being, when a person looks into her eyes. The petrification is instantaneous and total. It's not a slow transformation, a creeping paralysis. It's a sudden, complete shift of all cellular structure from organic matter to stone. There's no pain, no struggle, no last thought. There's just a sudden, quiet end. You're there, and then you're a statue. The science of it, if you can call it that, is a moment of total, boring, and irreversible change. This is why your shield is so important. It's not a magic mirror that deflects her stare. It's a tool that allows you to see her without seeing her. It's a trick of perspective, a clever workaround for an impossible problem. You line up the reflection in the shield, your hand steady, your heart a drum against your ribs. You see the sword in your reflected hand, a glint of silver in the murky light. You see the sleeping gorgon, her face a mask of sleeping horror, her snakes a tangle of restless danger. You take a deep breath. You don't scream. You don't shout a battle cry. You are a silent ghost, a vengeful whisper. You swing the sword in one fluid, powerful arc. The blade cuts through the scaly, thick neck of the gorgon with a terrifyingly clean sound, a wet, final slice that echoes in the cavern. The head is severed. It falls to the ground with a dull thud. The moment the head is separated from the body, the magic of the stare is contained. It's not a ray. It's a property of the head itself. The snakes on the head, now disconnected from the life force of the gorgon, writhe for a moment and then go still, a silent, grotesque finality. The body of Medusa, however, is not so quiet. From the stump of her neck, a torrent of blood gushes out, and from that blood, something new is born. This is one of the most incredible and bizarre moments in the entire myth. From the severed neck of Medusa, two beings spring forth, a magnificent, winged horse, pure white with golden wings, a creature of stunning grace and power. This is Pegasus, and a warrior, fully formed and armed, a giant of a man with a golden sword. This is Chrysaor, the brother of Pegasus. This dual birth is a detail that historians and classicists have long debated. Was it a symbolic birth, a representation of the dual nature of Medusa's origins? Was she, in some accounts, the mother of these creatures by Poseidon, and their birth was a cosmic, delayed delivery? Or was it just another example of the bizarre, reality-bending magic of the gods? The debate still rages. The birth of Pegasus and Chrysaor, however, is also the sound that wakes the other two gorgons. The sisters, Stheno and Euryale, are jolted awake by the commotion. They sit up, their own snakes hissing with fury, and they see the headless body of their sister. They let out a shriek of rage, a sound that is a mix of a siren's wail and a beast's roar. You have to move, now. You grab the head of Medusa, a grim and heavy thing, and you shove it into the kibisis. The magical bag. The bag closes, containing the petrifying power of the head, and you feel the weight of it in your hand. A strange and unsettling trophy. The two immortal gorgons, now fully awake and enraged, are hunting for you. They can't see you, thanks to the cap of invisibility, but they can smell you. They can feel the presence of a mortal in their lair. You can hear them behind you. They're powerful, bronze hands smashing against the cavern walls, their golden wings beating the air with a sound like thunder. They are furious, and they are immortal. They will not give up. You have to escape. You run. A silent, invisible figure in a mass scramble to the mouth of the cave. You feel the ground shake as they close in on you. You're so close to the exit, to the open air, to freedom, but you have a new passenger now, a grim and deadly souvenir. And you are being chased by two immortal sisters who want nothing more than to tear you limb from limb. You're running, but you're not a runner. You're a ghost. The cap of invisibility makes you an unseen blur, and the winged sandals, once a novelty, are now a matter of life and death. You feel the ground thud with the weight of the two immortal gorgons behind you. Their roars are a physical force, a shock wave of pure rage that threatens to shatter your concentration. The air is alive with the sound of their golden wings beating like war drums, and the hissing of the thousands of snakes on their heads is a constant, terrifying symphony of fury. You've just killed their sister, and they are not happy. They don't just want revenge, they want to tear you to pieces, to pulverize every bone in your body. You're holding the kibisis, the magical bag, a cold, heavy weight in your hand. Inside is the head of Medusa, a gruesome souvenir that has already sealed your fate. You can feel the latent power of the stare, a quiet, contained thrumming that makes your skin crawl. You can't slow down, you can't look back. You have to get out of the Gorgon's lair and back to the world of mortals. You burst from the cave, a silent arrow from the bow of fate. The petrified statues of the failed heroes seem to watch you go, a silent, stony audience to your frantic escape. You can hear the Gorgon's wings beating in the air behind you, their senses heightened by their rage. They can't see you, but they can feel your presence, the strange emptiness in the air where a mortal should be. They can smell the scent of your fear, the blood of their sister still clinging to you. You take to the sky, the winged sandals a blur of motion. The Gorgons follow. Their powerful wings a match for your sandals. It's a terrifying chase, a battle of speed and divine fury. They can't catch you, but they won't give up. They pursue you across the desolate landscape, their shrieks of rage echoing in the canyons. The sun, a distant pale orb, feels like a taunt. You're flying toward it, toward the world, but it seems to get no closer. And here's where the reality of Medusa's stare is at its most boring and most profound. The power of petrification isn't a magical spell that can be broken, or a curse that can be lifted. It's a fundamental, irreversible transformation. The petrified statues you saw in the valley aren't just art, they're the silent, eternal testimony to the fact that Medusa's stare is not a flash of light, but a sudden, total, and boring end. There's no struggle, no pain, just a sudden, quiet shift from living flesh to inanimate stone. The magic of it is in its simplicity, its terrifying finality. You fly for what feels like an eternity. The Gorgons are constant, terrifying presence behind you. Finally, you reach the edge of the desolate land, the place where the sun begins to feel warm again, where the grass is green and the trees are alive. The Gorgons, creatures of shadow and rage, can't follow you into the light. Their pursuit ends with a final, frustrated shriek, and they turn back, a pair of angry, immortal guardians of a land of stone and death. You've done it. You've killed Medusa. You've escaped her sisters. You're a hero, but it doesn't feel like a victory. You're exhausted, your body's aching, and you're holding a head in a bag. It's a grotesque trophy for a grotesque task. You land on a quiet, sun-drenched beach, the sand soft and warm beneath your feet. The winged sandals feel heavy on your ankles, the cap of invisibility, a mundane leather cap on your head. You're just a man again, a man who has just done an impossible thing. You open the kibisis, just a crack. To look at your handiwork, you see a cold, pallid face, a grotesque mask of quiet horror. The snakes on her head are still, but they look as though they could spring to life at any moment. Her eyes, mercifully, are closed, but you can feel the latent power behind the lids, the quiet, terrifying potential to turn the world to stone. You quickly close the bag. The weight of the head are heavy, constant reminder of what you've done. This moment of quiet contemplation is a key part of your journey. You're no longer just a demigod on a quest. You're a killer. You've taken a life, and not just any life. You've taken the life of a creature who was once a beautiful woman, cursed by a goddess. The weight of that knowledge sits heavy in your stomach, a kind of mythological indigestion. You're a hero, but you're also a murderer, a pawn in a divine game. You spend a few days on that beach, recovering from your ordeal. You fish, you rest, and you try to come to terms with the reality of what you've done. You think about your mother, Danae, back on Seriphos. You think about the cruel king, Polydectes. The thought of him, his cruel grin, and his smug satisfaction at sending you on a death mission fills you with a quiet, burning rage. You have to get back. You have to show him that he underestimated you. You have to prove that a fisherman's son can be a hero, that a demigod can be a force to be reckoned with. You put on the winged sandals, and once again you take to the sky. You leave the quiet beach behind and head for the open sea. You're not just flying now, you're flying with a purpose, a quiet, vengeful determination. The head of Medusa is a weight in your hand, a heavy, cold reminder of what you have to do. The journey is long, a disorienting blend of speed and solitude. You see the world from a perspective few mortals ever will. Mountains shrink to pebbles, rivers to silver threads. The world is a map, and you are a god's piece on a board, moving toward a final, violent confrontation. This section of the story, your journey back to Seriphos, is often a blur in most retellings, but it's a crucial part of the myth, a time for reflection and a time for your character to grow. You're no longer just a boy who was tricked. You're a man who has killed a monster. You're a hero in your own right, a demigod who has used his wits and his tools to do the impossible. The journey is a time for you to become comfortable with your new reality, with the weight of the head in your hand and the power of the gods at your back. You're not just a fisherman anymore. You're Perseus, the slayer of Medusa. The journey back is a blur of blue sky and salty air. The winged sandals, a gift from Hermes, carry you over the vast, uncaring expanse of the sea. You are a speck in a world of water and sky, a demigod on a quest that has now shifted from one of survival to one of vengeance. The head of Medusa, a cold, unblinking presence in the Abysses, is a constant reminder of what you've done and what you still have to do. The silence of the gorgon's lair has been replaced by the roar of the wind and the relentless rhythm of the waves, a monotonous backdrop to your thoughts. You're not just flying now, you're thinking. You're processing the reality of what you've accomplished and what it means for your future. You think about Medusa, not the monster, not the legend, but the creature you actually killed, the one with the face of a beautiful woman, cursed by a goddess, the one whose hair was a writhing mass of snakes, the one whose eyes, even in death, held the power to turn a man to stone. You think about the quiet finality of her death, the simple and clean slice of the sword, the birth of Pegasus and Chrysaor from her neck. It's a surreal and deeply unsettling memory. You're a hero, but you're also a killer, a tool in a divine game. Your journey is interrupted by a detour, a sudden, unexpected stop on a rocky coast. You see a figure chained to a cliff face, a woman in distress. This is the kind of thing that happens to you when you're a demigod. You can't just fly by, you have to investigate. You land gently on the shore, the winged sandals bringing you to a halt. The woman is beautiful, with long, dark hair and eyes filled with a quiet, resigned terror. She is Andromeda, a princess, and she is about to be sacrificed to a sea monster. You invisibly yourself, taking off the cap of invisibility, and walk toward her. She tells you her story, a tale of vanity, hubris, and divine retribution. Her mother, Queen Cassiopeia, boasted that she was more beautiful than the sea nymphs, the Nereids, The nymphs, a notoriously petty and vengeful bunch, complained to Poseidon, the god of the sea. Poseidon, in a fit of rage, sent a sea monster, Cetus, to terrorize their kingdom. The only way to appease the god and save the city was to sacrifice Andromeda, the queen's beautiful daughter. It's a classic Greek myth morality play, a story about the dangers of pride and the terrible consequences of divine wrath. You, a man who has just killed a monster, are now faced with another one. But this time, it's different. This isn't a death mission given to you by a cruel king. This is a choice. You can fly away, continue your journey and let fate take its course, or you can stay, fight the monster, and save the princess. The choice is obvious. You're a hero, and heroes don't leave damsels in distress. But you're also a practical man, a demigod who knows that a fight with a sea monster is not going to be a clean, simple affair. You need a plan. Andromeda's parents, King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia, are there, watching from a distance, their faces a mix of grief and relief. They are resigned to their daughter's fate, but they are also desperate for a saviour. You, a stranger who has just appeared out of the sky, are their only hope. You make a deal with them. You'll save their daughter, but in exchange, you want her hand in marriage. They, of course, agree. What choice do they have? The sea monster, Cetus, is a terrifying thing. It's a serpent-like beast, with the body of a whale and the jaws of a dragon. It rises from the water, a massive scaly monster with a hunger in its eyes. This isn't a glamorous, epic battle. This is a fight against a big, dumb, scaly beast. It's a fight against a force of nature, a creature of the deep that is more instinct than intelligence. It's a boring, brutal, and bloody affair. You use your winged sandals to fly around the monster, dodging its massive jaws and its powerful, thrashing tail. You use your magical sword, the one that killed Medusa, to hack at its thick, scaly hide. But the scales are tough, and the monster is huge. It's like trying to kill a mountain with a pocket knife. You're getting nowhere, and the monster is getting closer and closer to Andromeda. Then you have an idea. You remember the head of Medusa, the one in the kibyssus. The power of her stare, the one that turns flesh to stone, is still there, contained within the magical bag. It's a dangerous, powerful, and utterly terrifying weapon. You can use it. You can use the most powerful weapon you have to kill a monster that is a lot of sound and fury, but not a lot of cleverness. You fly over the sea monster, holding the bag in your hand. You can hear the thrashing of the monster, the spray of the water, the screams of the people on the shore. You can feel the power of the head in your hand, a cold, unblinking presence. You open the bag just a crack, just enough to expose the face of Medusa to the monster. The monster, with its big, dumb animal brain, sees the face. It looks directly into the eyes of the gorgon, and in a moment of terrifying, boring finality, it turns to stone. This is a detail that classicists and historians still debate. Was the head of Medusa a weapon of choice, or was it a last resort? Was it a strategic move, a clever use of a divine tool, or was it a desperate, frantic act of a man who was running out of options? The text is vague, but the result is clear. The monster, Cetus, becomes a massive statue of stone, frozen in mid-air, a silent, eternal monument to the power of Medusa's stare. It's a far more boring end than a dramatic, bloody battle, but it's a far more effective one. You land, and you go to Andromeda. You cut her chains with your magical sword, and you free her. She's beautiful, and she's grateful. You are a hero, and you are a future king. The town celebrates you, a stranger who appeared out of nowhere to save their princess. You have your revenge against the cruel king Polydectes, but now you have a new responsibility, a new life, a new purpose. You stay in the kingdom of Cepheus and Cassiopeia, and you prepare for your wedding, but the story doesn't end there. There's a catch, a final twist in the tale. A man named Phineus, the brother of King Cepheus, had been promised Andromeda's hand in marriage. He's not happy about the change of plans. He and his men, a group of armed thugs and political opportunists, crash the wedding feast, demanding that Andromeda be returned to him. This is another moment of boring political reality. The story isn't about a great battle of good versus evil. It's about a squabble over a princess, a conflict between a vengeful demigod and a jealous suitor. You try to reason with Phineus, to explain that you saved the princess, that you have a right to her hand, but he's not interested in reason. He's interested in power. He's interested in getting what he believes is his. He and his men attack you, a scene of chaos and violence in the middle of a wedding feast. You fight back, using your magical sword and your superhuman strength. You're a demigod, and they are just men. But there are a lot of them, and they are armed. It's a bloody, brutal battle, a scene of chaos and carnage. You're outnumbered, and you're getting tired, and then you have another idea. The final, terrifying, and completely boring weapon you have in your arsenal, the head of Medusa. You tell your friends, the few who have gathered to help you, to look away, and you pull the head from the kibisis. The petrifying stare, contained for so long, is unleashed. The room is filled with a silent, terrifying finality. Phineus and his men, in a moment of boring, irreversible change, turn to stone. They are frozen forever, a tableau of their own hubris and greed, a silent, petrified wedding photo of a battle that they started and lost. This final act of quiet, powerful violence is the ultimate proof of your power. You have killed a monster, saved a princess, and defeated a king's brother, all with a single, terrifying weapon. You are a hero, a demigod, and a man who is now feared and respected. You have a wife, a kingdom, and a new life, but you're not done yet. You still have to get back to Seriphos, back to your mother, back to the king who started all of this, and you still have the prophecy hanging over your head, a final, quiet, and unavoidable end to your story. With Andromeda, now your wife, and the kingdom of Cepheus secured from both a sea monster and a jealous suitor, you feel a new sense of purpose. You are no longer just a fisherman's son, a pawn in a cruel king's game. You are a hero, a demigod who has killed a gorgon and saved a princess. But the thought of Seriphos, of your mother, Danae, and of the cruel king Polydectes, is a constant weight in your mind. You have to go back. You have to face the man who sent you on a suicide mission and show him that you are not just a boy anymore. You are a man, a hero, and a force to be reckoned with. You and Andromeda say your goodbyes to her parents, promising to return one day, and you take to the sky once more. The winged sandals feel familiar now, an extension of your own will, the cap of invisibility, the magical sword, and the kibisis with Medusa's head are no longer just tools. They are a part of you, a testament to your journey. You are a flying, vengeful demigod with a beautiful princess by your side. It's a strange, almost comical image, a blend of divine power and domestic bliss. The journey to Seriphos is long, a quiet, uneventful flight over the endless blue of the sea. Andromeda, a princess who has lived her life in a palace, is in awe of the world from this new perspective. You point out islands, explain the patterns of the waves, and tell her the story of your life, from the bronze chamber to the gorgon's lair. It's a quiet, peaceful journey, a calm before the storm. The reality of what awaits you on Seriphos is a constant, nagging thought in the back of your mind. You land on the shores of Seriphos, the same island where you were once a fisherman's son, but you are a different person now. You are a demigod, a hero, and you have the head of Medusa in a bag. You feel the change in the air the moment you arrive. The island is not the peaceful, quiet place you remember. The streets are tense, the people are scared, and there is a palpable sense of fear hanging in the air. You learn that King Polydectes, emboldened by your supposed death, has grown even more tyrannical. He has been harassing your mother, Danae, demanding that she marry him. She has refused, and he, in his rage, has imprisoned her in a temple. He has sent his soldiers to search for her, to bring her to him by force. The kind fisherman, Dictys, who saved you and your mother, has also been forced into hiding. Polydectes, it seems, has gone mad with power, a petty tyrant in a small kingdom, a king who believes his whims are the law. You are filled with a cold, quiet rage. The man who sent you to your death has now turned on your mother, the one person you were trying to protect. The head of Medusa feels heavy in your hand, a powerful, deadly solution to a very simple problem. You don't need a clever plan, a series of divine tools, or a long, arduous quest. You just need to show him what you have. You go to the king's palace, a grand and intimidating structure on a hill overlooking the harbour. You walk in, a man of simple clothes with a beautiful princess by your side. The guards, recognizing you, are a mix of surprise and fear. They try to stop you, but you are a demigod with a magical sword, and they are just men with iron spears. You brush past them, a silent, powerful force of nature. You find Polydectes in his throne room, a place of gilded luxury and arrogant power. He is surrounded by his courtiers, a group of fawning sycophants who are laughing at his cruel jokes and agreeing with his every word. He sees you, and his face, once filled with a smug, self-satisfied grin, turns to a mask of pure terror. He can't believe it. He thought you were dead. He thought you were a petrified statue in a gorgon's lair. He tries to bluster, to pretend he isn't afraid. "Perseus," he says, his voice a pathetic imitation of a king's command. "You have returned. I see you have failed in your quest. Where is the head of Medusa? You have returned empty-handed, just as I predicted." And here's where the reality of the situation is at its most boring and most profound. Polydectes isn't a great villain, a powerful sorcerer, or a terrifying beast. He's just a cruel, petty, and arrogant king who got his comeuppance. His downfall isn't a great battle or a cunning trick. It's a simple, quiet, and utterly final act of justice. You look at him, your eyes filled with a cold, hard resolve. You don't say a word. You simply reach into the kibisis, the magical bag, and pull out the head of Medusa. The courtiers, the guards, and Polydectes himself look at you, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. And in that moment, they see the head, they see the cold, pallid face of the gorgon, the writhing snakes, and the unblinking eyes, and in a moment of terrifying, boring finality, they turn to stone. The throne room, once a place of luxury and power, becomes a silent graveyard of stone statues. The courtiers, frozen in mid-laugh, mid-gasp, or mid-scream, become a part of the scenery. Polydectes, in a moment of pure, unadulterated terror, is frozen on his throne, a monument to his own greed and cruelty. It's not a dramatic, bloody end. It's a quiet, permanent, and utterly boring transformation from flesh to rock. The academic debate about this part of the myth revolves around the moral implications of using Medusa's head as a weapon of mass destruction. Was it an act of justice or an act of vengeance? Was it a heroic act or a cruel one? The text is unclear, but the result is clear. You have taken your revenge, you have freed your mother, and you have ended the reign of a tyrant. You find your mother, Danae, and the kind fisherman, Dictys, in the temple where they were hiding. They are overjoyed to see you, to see that you are alive and well, and to see that the tyrant is gone. You show them the statues in the throne room, and they are filled with a mix of awe and horror. You are a hero, but you are a hero with a terrifying weapon, a man who has used divine power to settle a mortal score. With Polydectes gone, the kingdom of Seriphus is without a king. The people, who have been living in fear, are now free. Dictys, the The kind fisherman who saved you and your mother is the obvious choice to be the new king. He is a good man, a just man, and he is loved by the people you, a demigod who has a life ahead of you, are not interested in ruling a small kingdom. You are a man of action, a man of adventure. You are a man who has a destiny to fulfill. You give the throne to Dictys, a quiet act of justice and gratitude. You have your revenge. Your mother is safe, and the kingdom is in good hands. But the story isn't over yet. The prophecy, the one that started all of this, is still hanging over your head. The oracle told your grandfather, King Acrisius, that his grandson would kill him. You have avoided him your entire life, but you know that fate, in the end, cannot be avoided. You have the head of Medusa, a tool of ultimate power. You have a wife, a kingdom, and a new life, but you also have a prophecy, a quiet, inevitable end to your story. You are a hero, a demigod, and a man who has cheated death, but you know that you cannot cheat fate, and the final act of your story, the final, boring, and tragic end to your life, is still to come. The kingdom of Seriphus is now in the hands of the kind and just Dictys, and your mother, Danae, is finally safe. Your work on the island is done, but you can't stay. Your destiny is still unfulfilled. And the prophecy that started all of this, the one that foretells your grandfather's death at your hands, hangs over you like a shadow. You, your wife Andromeda, and your mother Danae decide to leave Seriphus behind. The winged sandals, the magical sword, and the kibbasis with the head of Medusa are now just a part of who you are, a part of your legend. You are a family on the run, a demigod, a princess, and a woman who has endured a life of hardship, all of you heading towards an uncertain future. You fly across the Aegean Sea, heading for the city of Argos, your grandfather's kingdom, but you don't go to the city directly. You know that if you show up, the prophecy will be fulfilled, and you have no desire to kill your own grandfather, no matter how much of a coward he was. You are a hero, not a murderer. So you land in a nearby city, and you send word ahead, a polite and diplomatic message that you are in the area, but you have no intention of fulfilling the prophecy. And here's where the reality of your situation is at its most boring and most frustrating. You are a demigod, a hero who has killed a gorgon, and a man who can fly. But you can't escape fate. You can't outrun a prophecy. The gods have a plan for you, and no matter what you do, you will be a part of it. Your grandfather, Acrisius, hears that you are in the area, and he, filled with a primal, animalistic fear, flees. He runs from his own grandson, a man he has never met, a man who has done nothing to him. He is a coward, and he is a man who is running from fate. Acrisius flees to the city of Larissa, a quiet, peaceful kingdom where he believes he will be safe. He hides there, living a quiet, unassuming life, a king in exile who is running from a prophecy that he started in the first place. This is a classic Greek myth trope, a man who, in his attempt to escape his fate, walks right into it. He is a tragic figure, a king who is a prisoner of his own fear. Meanwhile, you, Perseus, are living a quiet, peaceful life with your wife and mother. You are a hero, but you are also a man who has no home, no kingdom, and no purpose. You are a demigod who is biding his time, waiting for the inevitable. You are not a king, a warrior, or a ruler. You are a quiet, unassuming man, a father, a husband, and a son. But fate, as it always does, finds a way. The king of Larissa is holding a sporting event, a series of athletic games to honour his father. You, a man who is strong, athletic, and bored, decide to participate. You are a demigod, and you are a natural at everything you do. You excel at all the events. A quiet, unassuming hero who is winning without a single word of a boast. The crowd loves you. The other athletes respect you. and the king of Larissa is impressed. The final event is the discus throw. You take your place in the arena. A large bronze discus in your hand. You spin. You gather your strength, and you throw the discus. It flies through the air, a blur of bronze and sun, a perfect throw that is headed for the record books. But something goes wrong. A sudden gust of wind, a misplaced foot, a tragic accident that is no one's fault. The discus, a deadly piece of metal, flies off course. It doesn't hit a wall, a spectator, or a judge. It flies into the stands, into the crowd of people who are watching the games. It hits a man, a quiet, unassuming man who is sitting in the stands, watching the games. A king in exile who is hiding from a prophecy. It hits him in the head, and in a moment of boring, tragic finality, he dies. The man is your grandfather, Acrisius. You have fulfilled the prophecy. You have killed your own grandfather, not with a sword, not in a battle, but with a tragic, unavoidable accident in the middle of a sporting event. The academic debate about this part of the myth revolves around the nature of fate and free will. Was this an act of free will? A tragic accident that was no one's fault? Or was it an act of fate? A preordained event that was always going to happen? The ancient Greeks believed that you could not escape your fate, that no matter what you did, the God's plan would be fulfilled. This story is a testament to that belief, a tragic, boring, and utterly final end to a heroic journey. You are filled with grief and guilt. You have done the one thing you tried so hard to avoid. You have killed your own grandfather. You are a hero, but you are a tragic one. A man who has a destiny that he could not escape. You are a king, but you are a king with a haunted past. A man who has a curse hanging over his head. You have the head of Medusa, a tool of ultimate power, but you can't use it to change what has happened. You are a demigod, but you are also just a man who has just lost his grandfather in a terrible, unavoidable accident. You are now the king of Argos, but you don't want the throne. It is a throne that is stained with the blood of your grandfather, a throne that is a constant reminder of your tragic fate. You give the throne to a cousin, and you and your wife Andromeda go on to rule the kingdom of Tyrins, a kingdom that you have earned with your own hands, not with a tragic twist of fate. The story ends here, a quiet, peaceful end to a life of adventure, of danger, of divine intervention, and of human tragedy. You are a hero, a demigod, and a man who has lived a life that was both epic and mundane, both heroic and tragic. You have a wife, a kingdom, and a family, but you also have a past, a prophecy, and a legacy that will forever be a part of the human story. Your name, Perseus, is now a part of the myth, a story that is both a warning and an inspiration, a story that is both a tragedy and a triumph, and the head of Medusa, the weapon that you use to kill a monster, to save a princess, and to take your revenge, is a symbol of both the power of a demigod and the tragic, unavoidable nature of fate. The discus throw was a simple, mundane act, a moment of athletic prowess in a crowded arena, but for you, Perseus, it was the climax of a prophecy, a quiet and tragic end to a long and arduous journey. The thud of the discus, the sight of your grandfather, Acrisius, falling lifelessly to the ground, it all happened in a surreal, dreamlike moment. The noise of the crowd, the joyous shouts and cheers, suddenly stopped, replaced by a stunned, horrified silence. The very air seemed to hold its breath, a collective gasp of disbelief and sorrow. You, a hero who had defeated a gorgon and saved a princess, had now become a parricide, a killer of your own blood. You rushed to your grandfather's side, a man you never knew, a king who had spent his life trying to escape his fate. You kneel beside him, your hands, the same hands that had held a magical sword and a gorgon's head, now tremble. You are a demigod, a man of power and strength, but in this moment, you are just a grandson, filled with a deep, gut-wrenching grief. You look at his face, a face you have only seen in fleeting glimpses, and you see not a king, but an old man, a man who, in his fear of a prophecy, had set in motion a chain of events that led to his own death. The irony of it all is a heavy, bitter taste in your mouth. He ran from you his entire life, only to be killed by you in a moment of pure, unavoidable accident. The people of Larissa, once cheering your athletic prowess, now look at you with a mix of awe and terror. They see a hero, but they also see a man who is cursed, a man whose very existence is a threat. You are a king without a throne, a hero without a home, a demigod who has a destiny that he could not escape. The throne of Argos, your grandfather's kingdom, is now rightfully yours. You are the heir, the new king, but you don't want it. It is a throne stained with the blood of your grandfather, a constant, silent reminder of your tragic fate. You are a hero, but you are a tragic one, a king who has no desire to rule. So you make a decision, a quiet, powerful act of justice and a final act of respect for your grandfather. You give the throne of Argos to your cousin, Megapenthes, the son of Proetus, who was a rival of Acrisius. It is an act of diplomacy, an act of peace, and an act of a man who is trying to find a way to live with his past. You are a king, but you are a king who is giving up his power, a hero who is giving up his glory. It is a quiet, powerful act, a final, definitive end to the prophecy that started all of this. You and your wife, Andromeda, go on to rule the kingdom of Tyrins, a kingdom that you have earned with your own hands, not with a tragic twist of fate. It is a quiet, peaceful kingdom, a place where you can finally live a life of normalcy. You have children, you raise a family, and you rule with a gentle, just hand. You are a king, but you are a king who is also a man who has a wife, children, and a past that is a constant. Quiet reminder of the power of fate, the winged sandals, the magical sword, and the kibisis with Medusa's head are now just relics, a part of your legend, a part of your past. You are Perseus, the slayer of Medusa, the hero of Andromeda, and the man who, in a single, tragic moment, killed his own grandfather. Your legacy, however, is not just one of tragedy. It is also one of hope, of courage, and of the power of a single man to defy the gods, to challenge fate, and to create his own destiny, the head of Medusa, the weapon that you use to kill a monster, to save a princess, and to take your revenge, is a symbol of both the power of a demigod and the tragic, unavoidable nature of fate. The story of Perseus is not just a story about a hero. It is a story about a man who, in the face of impossible odds, found a way to be a hero, a king, and a father. It is a story about the power of the human spirit to endure, to overcome, and to find a way to live with the quiet, tragic reality of our own lives. The final act of your life is not a grand, epic battle. It is a quiet, peaceful death, a death that is a final, definitive end to your story. You die in your bed, an old man surrounded by your family, your wife and your children. You are a hero, a demigod, and a king, but you are also a man who, in the end, found a way to live a normal, quiet life. Your legacy is one of courage, of strength, and of the quiet, powerful reality of a life that was both epic and mundane, both heroic and tragic. And as you close your eyes for the last time, you can't help but smile at the irony of it all. You, a man who was born in a bronze chamber, who was sent to his death by a cruel king who killed a gorgon, and who, in a single tragic moment, killed his own grandfather, had a life that was both a tragedy and a triumph. You were a man who lived a life that was both epic and mundane, a hero who, in the end, found a way to be a man, and that, in the end, is the true meaning of your story. The years that followed the death of your grandfather, Acrisius, were a quiet, peaceful blur. The throne of Argos, stained with the tragedy of a prophecy fulfilled, was left behind. You and your wife, Andromeda, made a new life in the kingdom of Tiryns. You weren't a king by birthright, but by merit. A man who had earned his place through courage and sacrifice. The winged sandals were retired, hung on a wall like a hunting trophy. The magical sword was sheathed, a silent, powerful relic. And the kibisis, with the head of Medusa, was buried in a hidden chamber. A terrifying, powerful secret that you would never again unleash upon the world. The reality of Medusa's stare, the boring, permanent finality of it, was a lesson you never wanted to teach again. It was a tool of last resort, a weapon of ultimate power, and a reminder of a life that was both epic and mundane. You became a king of peace, not of war. You ruled with a gentle, just hand. A man who had seen the worst of the world and chose to build a better one. You had sons and daughters, and you told them stories, not of your own heroic deeds, but of the importance of kindness, of courage, and of the dangers of hubris. You taught them how to fish, how to mend nets, and how to read the weather by the clouds, the quiet, humble skills you learned as a boy. You were a king, but you were also a man, a father, a husband, and a son who, in the end, found a way to live a normal, quiet life. But the gods, as they always do, had one last twist in your tale, a quiet final act that was not of your own making. You lived a long and prosperous life, a life of peace and tranquility, a life that was a stark contrast to the one you were born into. You were old, your hair grey, your hands gnarled from a lifetime of hard work, but your eyes still held the quiet wisdom of a demigod who had seen the world and had come out on the other side. You were a legend, a myth, a man who was both a hero and a king, but you were also just an old man, a man who was ready for his final, quiet rest. And as you lay in your bed, an old man surrounded by your family, your wife, and your children, you can't help but smile at the irony of it all. You, a man who was born in a bronze chamber, who was sent to his death by a cruel king, who killed a gorgon, and who, in a single tragic moment, killed his own grandfather, had a life that was both a tragedy and a triumph. You were a man who lived a life that was both epic and mundane, a hero who, in the end, found a way to be a man, and that, in the end, is the true meaning of your story. This is the end of your journey, the final, quiet end to a life that was both a myth and a reality, a life that was both a tragedy and a triumph. And now, good night, and have a sweet dream.